Their center is a lottery pick. Proctor, one of their guards / wings is a lottery pick. So we're playing against 2 lottery picks. And number 1, Foster, is a early mid 20 type pick based on mock drafts. So we're playing against 3 draft picks that'll all happen probably before 20. So we're playing against a really good basketball team with some guys that made a decision to come back and play college basketball after they got some guys on their team that would have been first round picks last year. And they came back to get better. And then we got another game, and then we got Oklahoma. It's as brutal a stretch as I've experienced. And but we need some better performances individually, both sides of the basketball. We're fouling way too much off the ball. We've broken down our fouls per minute. We're not creating nearly the amount of steals. Joseph Pinion has played very, very limited minutes and has similar steals to some of our guys that have played over 100 minutes more than him. So defending without foul. If we were fouling a lot and getting a lot of steals, that would make sense. But we're fouling a lot and not getting steals. Probably a recipe for being where we are. That's one area that goes hand in hand. If you're going to be overly aggressive by fouling, then you should be getting steals. We're just fouling people 30 feet away from the ball just because we're fouling them. And, you guys can do the fouls per minute and all that, but got to do a better job defending without fouling, got to create more offense through our defense. Now, maybe the personnel is not going to work doing that, but we have to get a lot better than what we have been in those 2 areas for sure.
And you mentioned the schedule. This is obviously the first year for the ACC-SEC Challenge. Do you like having an event like this early in the season, late November, or did you prefer what you did with the Big 12 with the late January, or do you have a preference at all?
I don't really care.
Fair enough. Thanks.
Bob. You're on mute, Bob. You're on mute, Bob.
Sorry about that. Hey, you're telling Andrew that I'll get a hang of this after 5 years. That you know where you are mentally, but you didn't say where you are mentally. So where are you mentally right now?
Well, I want to get a lot better than we are. When that happens, how that happens, we're still trying to work through all that, Bob. But you guys will ask me a question, and I'll identify the answer in a very clear manner. As far as I mentioned the defending without foul, and I mentioned the lack of steals. Offensively, a lack of assists. We need way more assists. The ball's got to move way better than it has. So those are areas that that we got to improve in.
And then Blocker, I get he's making some freshman mistakes, but you gave him some pretty good minutes, and he did do some good things. Just how do you think he's developing, and just how big a boost did he give you in the Bahamas? How big a boost could he give you maybe Wednesday night, especially if T-Mark can't play?
Yeah, no, I think again, Layden's effort phenomenal, toughness phenomenal. Defensively, we get we had a guy at a career high at the point guard position in RJ Davis. Like we got to guard him better. That's all of our guards that were assigned to him, Layden included, because Davis had a career high. So, again, loose ball getting, all that stuff, offensive rebounding, does it as good as any point guard can do it. But at that position, both Layden, Diva, we have to get, we got to improve in a lot of areas, because We saw the guard from UNCG have a good game offensively. I mentioned RJ Davis had a big game. And then, against Memphis, it was obviously their 6'5" wing Jones that hurt us. And against Stanford, it was their 6'7" wing. So defensively, we got to improve across the board. But certainly the minutes that Layden got were great minutes for a freshman in a really, really, really big, good tournament.
And then Mike told us that, T Mark's still being evaluated. Don't really know what his status is. How tough is that to prepare for a team like Duke when you're not sure when one of your best players, maybe your best player's status is up in the air? And kind of how do you approach that early in practice this week?
Well, it's not ideal, to have a guy that's, in my opinion, one of the toughest competitors that I've ever coached. I think that's where you start with T Mark, is his toughness, is his competitive nature, and his will to win. All those, and then you add in, he's your leading scorer, which obviously he is. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, Bob, we traveled back, left the hotel at roughly 6 a.m., got back at roughly 3 o'clock. That's a long travel day, which should have been a 3-hour flight, but turned into, we could have gone to Europe and stopped, and, for whatever reason, another, to and from was, we got to Maui quicker. Let's put it like that. Both ways traveling. But T Mark was in a wheelchair, on the travel day. Danielle and I went and visited him Sunday night just to check on him. He's gotten tests done, MRIs done. Obviously he had the stuff done in the Bahamas, but he's still being evaluated. There's a spine specialist coming in today at 2 o'clock. So 1 minute ago, if he's prompt, he's down there looking at T Mark right now. Tried to get him in the underwater, treadmill just to get him to walk a little bit and try to get it a little bit loose. So that, I just gave you everything I could give you. We don't question at all, like whenever he's able to play, whenever that is, like he's going to be anxious to play. He's going to, as soon as his body, is able to play, I have no doubt that he'll be in uniform whenever that is.
Scotty?
Yeah, Eric, any update on Jalen Graham, maybe the likelihood of a return this week? Do you know?
No, no update at all.
And you mentioned the steals. Last year, I just looked at KenPom. Y'all were top 25 in steal percentage. This year, outside the top, or outside 300. Can you put your finger on that? Like, what do you attribute the lack of steals to?
Well, when you play, when you play the same, defensive schemes, and you have the same drills, then it just comes down to individual. If we had changed our scheme and it had become a little bit more passive defensively, or we're keeping the lane a little bit more compact, across the board, we need way more activity with our hands. That's, you just read the numbers, Scotty, and I didn't even look up last year's. Thanks for putting us in a better mood.
Daniel?
Hey, Coach, you mentioned that you were the one that was kind of individually pointing out the details in the packages. Just, are these details kind of being picked up in practice and just not translating, or are y'all missing many of the same details in practice as well?
Well, we haven't practiced in a week, based on the schedule. I think every team should, whether you're a NFL team, an NHL team, What are we, 7 games into the season? I'm pretty sure that unless you're talking to a coach whose team is undefeated, I'm sure that there's a lot of things that need to be pointed out and directed. I mean, if you think that we're not talking about areas that we need to improve on, and then them translating or not translating, I mean, I don't know how you want me to answer that. I mean, I really don't. We took the 3 games. We played 3 games in 3 days. Obviously, when you play Stanford and the game ends and it's 11:30 at night, unless you guys have some way of having a player rest and you play less than 24 hours and then you start your prep, you're not going to be able to do what we call our cleanup. You kind of got to go to the next game and prepare because you only got about 2 film sessions and a walkthrough in a ballroom. And then you have another game less than 18 hours after that one. So yesterday's the first time we really had the opportunity through video to break down our own cleanup, because we went from one team's prep to the next. And quite honestly, this isn't a long prep either because we took off Saturday and Sunday. Very seldom do we take 2 days off, but we did based on 3 games in 3 nights.
Jackson, final question. Jackson? All right. Bob, final question.
Okay, Eric, how long does it take to do cut-ups? All those cut-ups you did.
Well, Bob, when you do 3 games well, I shouldn't say 1 day because the flight was, I don't know, we were probably on the plane about 7 hours because we had to land in Miami, do paperwork in Miami. And then, so that was 7 hours. And then yesterday, it was probably about 14 hours to do the 3 games because I went every single play. So whoever was in the game basically got every single play from the last 3 games. And luckily I got a real good staff and told me to stop instead of going back to the UNCG game because I went in reverse order of how we broke it down and moved on to Duke film today.
So just 14 hours of your life.
Yeah, that I can't get back.
Right. That was good.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Eric. Mike, did you guys have to stop in Miami for customs or something?